He seemed to have it all. Flashy cars, designer clothes, endless parties. Everyone wanted to be like him, to have his money, his easy life. But what people didn't see was the fear in his eyes, the emptiness in his heart. This young man, David, was hiding a terrible secret. A secret that would bring a dark sickness no doctor could cure. A secret that would shake his world and change his life forever. Who was this rich boy everyone admired? And what terrible price was he truly paying for his fast money? Sit back and find out as we dive into this shocking and emotional story. David grew up in the busy streets of Ikorodu, a lively part of Lagos. Life was full of noise, laughter, and also struggle. His small family lived in a simple house. His father worked as a tired security guard, always on his feet. His mother sold fresh, green vegetables by the roadside, her hands rough from work. Every single day was a fight to put food on the table, to find money for David and his two younger sisters to go to school. David was a smart boy. He had big dreams, bigger than their small house could hold. He wanted to lift his family out of poverty. He wanted to build them a fine house, send his sisters to the best schools, and buy his mother beautiful clothes. He saw the deep lines of worry on his parents' faces, and he desperately wanted to wipe them away. But how? The path he saw was long, hard, and slow. His grandmother, Mama Grace, lived with them. She was an old woman, her face soft with age, her eyes kind and wise. Every morning, before the sun was fully up, Mama Grace would gather everyone in their small living room. She would pray in a quiet, steady voice. She often spoke of God's blessings and the importance of honest work. My children, she would always say, her voice gentle, true wealth comes from God. It comes through your own honest hands. Money that comes too easily, from darkness, will only bring sorrow. It's a fake dream that will steal your peace. David loved his grandmother deeply. Her words often stayed with him, like a soft song. But the hunger in his stomach and the worry in his heart also stayed with him. He often walked through the crowded streets of Ikorodu. He saw many young men, some not much older than him, who seemed to have everything he dreamed of. They drove very expensive cars, wore shiny clothes, and spent money as if it were dry leaves. They built big houses with tall fences, threw loud parties, and everyone in the neighborhood seemed to respect them. People would whisper about them, saying, "They are Yahoo Boys." This meant they made money from the internet, often by tricking people far away. It was quick money, huge money, money that changed lives overnight. David watched these young men, and a deep, burning hunger grew inside him. He saw the way people looked at them, full of respect and envy. He wanted that. He wanted to bring that kind of help and honor to his own family, and he wanted it fast. One evening, David was coming back from a small construction job. He was tired and covered in dust, his body aching. He saw Michael, a boy he used to play football with years ago. Michael was now one of the big boys. He drove a sleek black car that looked too good for their rough street. Michael pulled up next to David. The window slid down slowly. Michael's face was smooth and smiling, his neck heavy with thick gold chains. "David, my man," Michael called out. His voice was friendly, but it held a hint of a challenge. "Still doing this dirty work, eh? You look tired, my brother." David felt a flush of shame. He looked down at his dusty hands. "It's honest work, Michael. It's how I survive." Michael laughed, a loud, easy sound. "Survival is for small minds, David. We are meant for more than just surviving. I see you, my brother. I know you want more. I was just like you once. But I found a better way. The internet, my friend. It's where the real money is. A gold mine. You don't have to sweat under the sun anymore. You just need a laptop, a good network, and someone to show you the ropes. David's heart beat fast, a frantic drum in his chest. This was it. The offer. He had heard about it, seen the flashy results, but never thought it would come to him directly. Mama Grace's words echoed in his mind, money that comes too easily, from darkness, will only bring sorrow. But then he thought of his mother's tired smile, his father's aching body, his sisters needing new school uniforms and better food. He looked at Michael's expensive car, then down at his own worn, dusty sandals. The choice felt clear, even though deep down he knew it was wrong. "Show me," David said, his voice barely a whisper, almost lost in the street noise. "Show me the way." Michael smiled, a wide, confident smile that didn't quite reach his eyes. "Hop in, David. Your life is about to change forever." David started spending his days at Michael's big, noisy house. It was always full of young men, sitting in front of bright laptop screens, their faces glowing with a strange light. The air was thick with whispered plans, the smell of expensive food, and the beat of loud music. David watched, he listened, and he learned. Michael taught him how to create fake online profiles, how to pretend to be someone else, a rich businessman, a lonely soldier, a kind stranger. He learned how to talk to people far away in other countries, how to build their trust, and then how to make them believe a story that wasn't true, a story that would make them send money. They called it scamming or sending format. It was like a dangerous game, a tricky one, where the prize was huge, real money. At first, David felt a strange mix of fear and deep guilt. He knew what he was doing was not honest. He felt a tight knot in his stomach every time he sent a message full of lies. He remembered Mama Grace's peaceful face when she prayed, her quiet wisdom, her loving warnings. He pictured her hands, worn from honest labor. But then he remembered his family's struggles. He thought of his mother's tears of quiet sadness, his father's silent burdens. The money would solve everything. He told himself that these foreign people had so much money, they wouldn't really miss a small part of it. He told himself he wasn't hurting anyone really. These thoughts were like a strong, unseen current, pulling him away from his old beliefs, away from the quiet voice of his conscience. Mama Grace noticed the change in David immediately. He no longer joined morning prayers. He was often out, even late at night, and when he was home, his eyes seemed far away, troubled, like someone hiding a secret. He avoided her gaze, always busy with his phone or laptop, always finding an excuse to leave the room. Her prayers became longer, her voice filled with a deep, silent sadness that David could almost feel. "David, my grandson," she would say softly, her voice trembling slightly, "this new path you walk, it does not feel right. I have seen it in my dreams. A bright light, then a deep shadow. Please, my son, turn back from this path." David would wave his hand, trying to act calm and strong. "Mama, you worry too much. This is modern life. I'm just trying to make money for the family. God is blessing me." He would force a bright, fake smile and quickly leave the room. But deep inside, Mama Grace's words pricked at him like tiny needles, a constant, nagging worry. Soon, David's efforts started to pay off. The first alert came into his account. It was a small amount, but enough to buy a new, fancy mobile phone and some good food for his family. He bought them and felt a rush of power, a thrill he had never known. Then came a bigger one. He used that money to buy his mother a new, colorful wrapper, a new cooking pot, and a lot of good, fresh food for the house. His mother cried tears of joy, tears of relief. His father looked at him, confused but proud. "Where did you get this money, my son?" his father asked, his voice full of wonder. "From a new online business, Papa," David said, his voice smooth, avoiding the full truth. "It's a way to make money quickly." The money kept coming. David moved out of the family's small house and rented a big, comfortable apartment with a generator, so there was always light and fun. He bought expensive clothes, shiny shoes, and even a small, used car. He felt powerful, respected. When he drove through Ikorodu, people greeted him with deep bows. They called him Oga David, Boss David. His parents were happy. They saw their son bringing money home, helping them in ways they had never dreamed of. They didn't ask too many questions, just enjoyed the new comfort. David felt like a hero. The fake dream he was living was beautiful. It sparkled and promised him everything. He was caught in its magic, forgetting Mama Grace's quiet warnings, forgetting the heavy feeling in his heart when he told lies. The emptiness was growing inside him, but he tried to fill it with new things, new respect, and new money. He thought he was finally free. The new wealth brought a strange kind of peace to David, but it was a peace that felt thin, like weak fabric about to tear. It was never truly peaceful. He was always looking over his shoulder, always worried about the next alert, always afraid someone would find out his secret. Mama Grace, however, saw deeper. She had dreams that troubled her greatly. Dreams of David falling into a deep, dark hole, dreams of shadows chasing him. She felt a spiritual disturbance around him, a darkness she couldn't explain. One morning, her eyes red from sleepless nights, she called David aside. Her voice trembled slightly, full of fear. "David, my grandson," she said, her voice barely a whisper, "I have seen things. The money you are making, it is not clean. It is money from darkness. It is stealing. It will bring you no good. It will bring sickness. It will bring shame. It will take away your soul's peace." David sighed, annoyed. He thought his grandmother was old-fashioned, that she didn't understand how the modern world worked. He had made so much money. He was helping his family. "Mama," he said, trying to be patient, "you worry too much. God is blessing me. I am helping our family. Don't you see?" Mama Grace shook her head slowly. Her eyes were fixed on his, full of deep, deep sorrow. "My son, the wealth that comes from darkness is a lie. It looks like a blessing now, but it is a curse dressed in fine clothes. Please, turn back. Leave this path. Only honest gain brings true joy." David felt a sharp pang of guilt, a flicker of fear, but he pushed it away. He had come too far. He was making too much money. He simply forced a bright, fake smile, patted her hand lightly, and quickly left the room. He told himself she was just being superstitious, that she didn't understand the new ways. But things around David started to get shaky. The Yahoo business was not always smooth. He heard many terrible stories about other young men like him. Some were arrested by police, their flashy cars seized, their big houses locked up. Their families were left with nothing but public shame. Others suddenly fell sick with strange illnesses that no doctor could cure, illnesses that drained their money and their strength, leaving them wasted and broken. One young man, who was even richer than Michael, suddenly went mad, shouting at ghosts no one else could see. His money vanished, and his family was left with nothing but sorrow and confusion. David saw these things, and fear would prick him. He would tell himself, "That won't happen to me. I am smarter. I am careful. I know how to avoid trouble." He kept doing bigger and bigger scams, always telling himself, "Just one more big one, then I will stop. Then I will be free." But it was like a trap. The more he earned, the more he wanted. The risk grew with the money, and the peace in his heart shrunk. He was becoming a prisoner of his own greed. David decided to do one last, very big scam. One huge roulette that would make him rich forever. He planned to get enough money to leave Nigeria, to go to another country and start a new life, far away from the whispers and dangers, far away from Mama Grace's worried eyes. Then, he told himself, he would stop this life completely. He would take his money, build real businesses, and live a truly honest life. He ignored the small warnings inside him, the way his sleep was troubled by nightmares, the deep worry in Mama Grace's prayers. He spent days planning, setting up the perfect fake profile, writing clever, deceitful messages, waiting for the big fish to bite. He was sure this was it. His final escape from the bad life. The day came. David was at Michael's house, sitting in front of his laptop. His heart pounded with excitement. The target, a wealthy man from far away, had finally responded. Everything was going perfectly. He sent the final message, the one that would bring in the huge sum of money. He waited, his fingers trembling on the keyboard. A notification popped up. Not the money alert he expected, but a different message. It was a warning from the online platform. His account had been flagged. All his pending transactions were frozen. Then, just like that, his screen went blank. All his fake identities, all his progress, gone. Panic gripped David, a cold, hard grip that squeezed his chest. He tried to log in again, but his account was gone. All the money he had worked for, all the money he had been expecting, everything he had saved, it all disappeared. It was like sand slipping through his fingers, leaving nothing behind. He felt cold, then hot. He stood up too fast, his head spinning. Michael and the others in the room looked at him, their faces now cold, no longer smiling. What happened? Michael asked, his tone harsh, full of anger. You messed up, didn't you? David couldn't speak. He had lost everything. Not just the big one he was chasing, but all the money he had been hiding, waiting to collect. It was all gone. Suddenly, a sharp, piercing pain shot through his head, like a hot iron piercing his brain. Then his stomach twisted violently, as if someone was wringing it out. He felt weak, weaker than he had ever been, even when he walked for days on the dusty construction sites without food. His body began shaking, uncontrollably. He looked at Michael, hoping for help, for some kind words, for pity. But Michael just stared, his eyes empty, cold, without a hint of care. Get him out of here, Michael said to the others. He's bringing bad luck. This place is hot. No one helped David. The very people who had smiled with him, who had shared in his stolen money, now looked at him with disgust, as if he was a disease. They pushed him roughly out of the house. David stumbled out into the hot afternoon sun, his body burning with a fierce fever, his head throbbing with pain. He felt empty, truly empty. The fake dream he had chased had vanished, leaving him lost and sick in a barren desert. David found his way home, but he was barely alive. He stumbled through the door of his parents' small house, his body limp, his eyes distant and clouded. His mother screamed when she saw him. He was burning with fever, his skin pale and clammy, his breath short and ragged. He couldn't speak, couldn't explain. He collapsed onto the mat in the living room, shivering violently. His family gathered around him, crying, scared, not knowing what was happening to their strong son. They quickly called the local doctor, but the doctor looked confused. I don't understand this sickness, he said, shaking his head. His body is strong, but something is eating him from the inside. This is not a normal sickness I have seen before. Days turned into long, painful nights. David lay in a daze, sometimes burning hot, sometimes freezing cold, sometimes talking strangely about money and shadows and accusing voices. He lost so much weight, his bones showing through his skin. He could barely eat or drink. His parents used all their small savings, money meant for rent and food, to buy medicines, but nothing worked. Hope began to fade from their faces, replaced by deep sorrow. It was Mama Grace who never gave up. She sat beside David's mat day and night. She didn't scold him. She didn't say, I told you so. Instead, she prayed. She held his hand, her own old hand cool and comforting against his burning skin. She sang old church hymns, her voice a soft, constant hum. She begged God for mercy, for healing, for a second chance for her grandson. She knew the sickness was not just of the body, but of the spirit, a punishment for the dark path he had chosen. In his darkest moments, David felt like he was falling into a deep, cold, black pit. He saw all the lies he had told, all the good advice he had ignored, especially Mama Grace's warnings. He saw his grandmother's worried, tired face, his parents' aching bodies, worn out from struggling to care for him. He felt the heavy shame of his actions, a crushing weight on his chest. He remembered the empty joy of the stolen money, how it never truly filled the hole in his heart, how it always left him wanting more, needing more. Now, he had nothing. No money, no health, no friends from the past. Only Mama Grace's hand, holding his tightly, and her voice, soft but strong, calling his name in prayer, calling him back to the light. Slowly, very slowly, things began to change. After what felt like forever, after weeks of fever and pain, the sickness began to loosen its grip. The fever started to drop. David opened his eyes one morning and saw Mama Grace sleeping beside him, her head resting on her knees, her Bible open in her lap, her hand still holding his. He looked at her, truly looked, and saw the pure love, the tireless care, the unending faith, the true strength she possessed. Tears welled up in his eyes, hot and cleansing, washing away some of the darkness. "Mama," he whispered, his voice rough and weak. Mama Grace stirred, her eyes blinking open slowly. When she saw him, truly awake, a smile spread across her face, bright as the morning sun. A smile of deep relief and gratitude. She knew God had answered her prayers. David was returning. David's body healed little by little, but his mind and spirit were still weak, filled with deep regret. He was no longer the proud young man who drove a small car and wore shiny clothes. He was humbled, broken, but also, finally, open to truth. He felt deep shame for the way he had lived, for ignoring his grandmother, for hurting his family by his foolishness and greed. One evening, after he had gained some strength, he sat with Mama Grace. "Mama," he said, his voice low and trembling, "I am so sorry. You warned me. I didn't listen. I was foolish. The money, it was all a lie. It brought me sickness. It brought me nothing but sorrow and emptiness. I lost everything, Mama." Mama Grace simply held his hand, her touch comforting. "God forgives, my son," she said, her eyes gentle and full of love. "It is never too late to turn back to the right path. The most important thing is to learn from your mistakes and ask God for true guidance. He is always waiting to help you." From that day, David truly changed. He started to pray again, kneeling with Mama Grace every morning. Not just saying words, but truly speaking to God from his heart, begging for forgiveness and strength, for guidance to live a better life. He went to the local church, something he hadn't done in years, something he had laughed at. He confessed his sins to the pastor, truly asking for forgiveness from God and from himself. He began to understand that true wealth was not just about money, but about peace of mind, about family, about being right with God and living a life of truth. He sold the few things he had left, his old car, the expensive phone, the flashy clothes, to pay back some of the money his parents had spent on his sickness. He had nothing left, but he felt lighter, cleaner. He decided he would never again seek quick, dishonest money. He wanted to work with his hands, to build something real, something that would bring true blessings to his life and his family. He went back to the construction site with his father, working as a laborer again. It was hard work, very different from sitting in front of a laptop all day, but this time, he didn't mind the sun or the sweat. He found a strange kind of peace in building with bricks and mortar, watching something solid rise from the ground. He also decided to learn a proper trade, something he could always rely on. He found an old carpenter in Ikorodu, a man named Papa Collins, known for his honest work and quiet strength. David became his apprentice, learning to shape wood, to build furniture, to fix things. It was slow, careful work, very different from the fast clicks of a keyboard and the easy lies. Months passed. David worked hard, learning the carpentry trade with all his heart. He was respectful, eager to learn every little thing. The old carpenter, Papa Collins, saw the deep change in him. He taught David not just about wood, but about patience, about honesty, about the deep joy of creating something useful and lasting with your own hands. David started taking small jobs, fixing broken chairs for neighbors, making simple tables. He didn't make much money at first, but every naira he earned felt clean, real, and truly his own. He would bring it home to his mother, who would smile with true, peaceful joy, no longer worried about where the money came from. Slowly, his good reputation grew. People in Ikorodu saw that David had truly changed. They saw him working hard, always polite, and always honest. They trusted him. Soon, he had more work than he could handle alone. He saved his money, little by little. He bought new, better tools. He even hired a young man from the community, someone just like he used to be, struggling to find work, to help him. He taught him carpentry, and he also taught him about honest living, about the value of patience and hard work, and the blessings that come from God. Years went by. David became a respected carpenter in Ikorodu. His workshop was always busy. He built beautiful furniture, strong and lasting, for many homes and businesses. He built a new, bigger house for his parents, not a flashy one, but a comfortable, strong home, built with his own honest hands and honest money. He made sure his younger sisters finished their schooling and went to good universities, paying their fees with pride. He took care of Mama Grace, who was now very old, but her eyes were still bright with pride and a deep, peaceful joy when she looked at him. She knew her prayers had been answered. David often shared his story with young people who came to his workshop, looking for work or just a chat. He would tell them about the fake dream, about the shiny cars and easy money that promised everything but delivered only sickness, shame, and sorrow. He would tell them about his terrible fall, and how Mama Grace's prayers and God's mercy saved him, giving him a second chance. True wealth, he would say, his voice clear and firm, is not just in your bank account. It is in your peace of mind. It is in the blessings of God that come from honest effort. It is in knowing that what you have, you earned with your own sweat and integrity. Don't chase the quick money, my brothers and sisters. It always comes with a heavy price, a price you might not see until it's too late. Trust in God, work hard, and be patient. Good things will come, true things, lasting things. And so, David's life became a powerful lesson. A story told in Ikorodu and beyond, a reminder that the shining, empty promise can hide a deep, dark pit. But also, a reminder that faith is the strongest shield, and even when you stumble and fall, it's never too late to find your way back to the light, and rebuild a life of true wealth and lasting peace. Dear viewers, what lessons did David's story teach you? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed the story, give us a thumbs up, share it with friends, and hit that subscribe button. Don't forget to turn on notifications so you never miss out on our latest videos. Thanks for watching and stay blessed.